I'm Anna Garcia, right now on True Crime News. Justice for Madeline Kingsbury, the Minnesota mom found dead on the side of the road. Now Adam Fravel, her ex-boyfriend and father of her 2 children, has been found guilty of her murder. Their tumultuous on-again, off-again relationship, allegations of domestic abuse, and his threats to make her disappear like Gabby Petito, the blogger killed by her boyfriend. Then, the fate of Richard Allen, charged with the killing of Abby and Libby in the Delphi murders, is in the hands of the jury. Dozens of witnesses, dozens of recorded confessions, and 1 unspent bullet found at the scene, plus no DNA. Have prosecutors proven that Richard Allen killed Abby and Libby, or did the defense provide reasonable doubt? Plus, a peaceful seaside home becomes a bloody crime scene.
She's dead.
A real estate mogul's wife is murdered, and the hunt for the fugitive that killed her takes a shocking turn.
While he was in Mexico, he killed somebody else.
Your daily source for true crime starts right now. Thanks for joining us. First today on True Crime News. The jury has reached a verdict in the Madeline Kingsbury murder trial. It's a story we told you about right here on True Crime News. Guilty. After a 3-week trial and nearly 10 hours of deliberations, Adam Fravel has been convicted on all 4 murder charges for killing Madeline Kingsbury, his ex-girlfriend, and the mother of his 2 children. Madeline's family was there when the verdict was read and spoke outside the courthouse.
As far as the verdict today, of course, we're glad of it. Fravel can't be punished enough. There's no joy here, but we're glad of the result.
The 26-year-old Minnesota mom vanished after she and Adam dropped their kids off at daycare. Months later, her body was found in a remote area off the highway, wrapped in a bed sheet similar to ones found in the couple's home.
She's home, but not the way we wanted.
Adam was arrested and charged with Maddie's murder. During the trial, her friends and family testified that Fravel was abusive and described seeing bruises and marks on her neck. Adam was also allegedly obsessed with the Gabby Petito case.
Me and Brian just got up and got ready, made the bed in the tent.
Petito was the young woman killed by her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, in 2021. Maddie's dad testified that she told him that Adam choked her and told her she was going to end up like Gabby Petito. Madeline's attorney and family are also grateful for the way her case has opened up the conversation about domestic abuse in their community. After the verdict, Madeline's sister Megan praised how friends and family came together to assist investigators.
As soon as they heard something was wrong, everybody rallied together. Everybody was asking questions, contacting law enforcement, providing resources. Her friends, sorority sisters, everybody is incredible. And many people don't have that experience, so I think we're very, very lucky.
The chief of police praised Madeline's family for their courage throughout.
The family was outstanding to work with. The ability for them to understand that there were certain items that we could not discuss, and their understanding that justice would be served in the end.
Madeline's family says they are now devoted to keeping her memory alive in a way that assists other victims of domestic abuse.
Her name is going to carry on for a very, very long time, and we're going to be happy to keep spreading that message.
And Madeline's father and sister say that's exactly what Madeline would have wanted.
So people will come up and tell us their story, and we're glad to hear that they've been influenced by Madeline. They've said it's made me want to be more involved in the domestic abuse issue and put my hand out there to help people get the resources they need for the help.
Yeah, it's more common than anybody thinks or knows.
Prosecutors argued that Fravel was jealous after Kingsbury told him that she had started a new relationship. Sentencing is scheduled for next month. Adam Fravel faces a possible life sentence. If you or anyone you know is experiencing domestic violence, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 800-799-7233, or by texting START to 88788. Now we turn to our next story. The murder trial of Richard Allen in Delphi, Indiana. He is accused of killing teenagers Abby Williams and Libby German. Both the prosecution and the defense have rested their cases, and now his fate is in the hands of the jury. After 7 years and a 17-day trial, arguments concluded in the trial of Richard Allen, the man accused of killing 14-year-old Libby German and 13-year-old Abby Williams on the Monon High Bridge of Delphi, Indiana. In a case made famous by this cell phone video shot by one of the teenage victims.
You could tell just walking into the courtroom that this was the moment that everyone had been waiting for more than 7.5 years ago.
Veteran broadcast journalist Susan Hendricks, who has written a book on the murders, has been inside the courtroom throughout the trial.
Abby and Libby were murdered on February 13th, 2017. Imagine how exhausting it is throughout. You know that this is the end. So it was emotional for everyone involved, and you could feel that in the courtroom.
As they closed their case, prosecutors focused on a series of phone calls between the defendant and his family, confessing to the crimes.
There were several calls, but today in the closing, the prosecutor played the one that was a confession to his mom. And you heard, "I just want to tell you I did it. I killed Abby and Libby." And he sounded matter of fact, not under duress whatsoever. And oh my gosh, it's powerful.
But the defense sought to question whether Allen's nearly 60 confessions were reliable, or the statements of a man treated with antipsychotics and kept in solitary confinement.
The defense kept going back. This guy was treated like a guy at Guantanamo Bay. They kept going back to that.
And that made circumstantial evidence the crux of this case, as the two 8th graders, Abby and Libby, had no DNA evidence connecting Allen to their deaths.
You have to convince 12 jurors unanimously. They have to all agree. But no DNA in this day and age. There's no DNA from him, but there's no DNA from anywhere else. But they hammer that home on the prosecution. Are you able to understand that circumstantial can play into if someone's guilty as much so as physical evidence?
Prosecutors focused instead on an unspent bullet found at the crime scene that they claim was cycled through a gun owned by Allen, evidence the defense disputed.
So that's what the defense focused on the most in closings, and saying, you know, if it wasn't for the bullet, Richard Allen wouldn't be in prison.
The defense held out hope that the jury would find enough reasonable doubt to exonerate Allen.
It's a long trial. You want to simplify it to the jury and say, this is the proof that we have, and I'm laying it all out now for you in a concise manner. I know that the jurors are smart. I can tell. I see they're engaged. I see they're taking notes. Their questions are phenomenal. But you never know. You just never know.
Now it remains for the jury to decide. But for Abby and Libby's families, a chapter closes on the small-town killings that devastated this community.
The family, they're going to get through this. It's hell on earth. But what wasn't the last 7.5 years? It all was. So I don't think they're doing good. But I think they're strong as you would ever imagine. They are. They inspire me day to day.
We'll continue to monitor the case, and we will bring you updates right here on True Crime News and on truecrimenews.com. Up next, a wealthy couple goes missing.
They have her body. They said they're going to cut her up.
The 911 call that led to an international manhunt for a millionaire on the run. Next. We turn now to a murder that stunned the upscale community of Newport Beach, California. What started as a search for a missing couple soon turned into a hunt for a fugitive. 48-year-old Peter Chadwick chose to pursue a different strategy rather than divorce his 46-year-old bride, Qui Chu, or QC Chadwick, a tragedy that started unraveling with a frantic call to 911 when QC went missing.
They took her.
Who took her?
Juan.
Juan, how do you know Juan?
She was just a lovely, giving person. She loved her children and she would do anything for them.
It all started so picture perfect. Both immigrants, Peter and QC, met in college. He was the British-born heir to a real estate development business, and she came from a wealthy family in Malaysia. 21 years, 3 kids, and 1 gorgeous home in the same development as former Lakers star Kobe Bryant. Later, the Chadwicks were fixtures in the well-heeled community of California's Newport Beach.
He seemed utterly devoted to his children.
Which is why police got worried when the Chadwicks' 3 children were left alone one day after school, neither parent showing up for pickup or answering their phones.
And it was extremely strange for them. So we initially sent 2 investigators out to the kids to talk to them and ask them if they knew where their parents were. And then we sent patrol officers out to the house.
Cops didn't see any signs of a break-in, and everything initially looked in order when they entered the multi-million-dollar home. But there was also no sign of the Chadwicks, and something else was strange.
There's a large safe in the office that was open. And this safe had contents of their financial records, passports, all their personal belongings.
Other clues were found in the kitchen indicating something may have suddenly interrupted Peter and Qui's plans.
2 plates were on the counter. Some food was set out as if somebody was preparing to make a lunch, but it wasn't finished.
Then cops discovered disturbing evidence in the primary bathroom upstairs.
They immediately recognized broken glass surrounding the tub. There's a broken vase, a broken jar that possessed seashells on the backsplash of the tub, and then they saw what they believed to be small amounts of blood splatter near the drain and on the back of the tub. They also located some towels that had what appeared to be blood on them.
The family's SUV was also not in the garage, and cops located security video from the guard shack showing it had been driven out of the front gate at 1 p.m. that same day. And that's when police get their first break in the case, a call from Peter.
They have her body. They said they're going to cut her up.
Who has her body?
Juan and Chi.
When we come back, Peter tells an unbelievable tale to emergency responders, but there is a lot more to the story.
Nothing added up to make any sense.
But it would take years to catch Qui's killer. We're back with the mysterious disappearance of Peter and QC Chadwick. Police in the affluent city of Newport Beach found signs of foul play at the couple's multi-million-dollar Southern California home, but had no idea where the couple was or what had happened. But they wouldn't have to wonder for long. Peter and QC Chadwick have seemingly vanished from their luxurious Newport Beach home, where police discover blood and an open safe and signs of a struggle. Then, from a public payphone nearly 100 miles down the California coast, they received this chilling 911 call.
She's dead. They killed her yesterday. They took her.
Who took her?
Juan.
What's your name?
Peter Chadwick.
Chadwick tells police that a man named Juan drowned his wife, QC, at their home while he was away.
Juan, how do you know Juan?
I picked him up to look at some painting work at the house. I brought him to the house.
He goes on to say he was out on an errand, and when he returned, Juan and another person named Chi were standing over QC's dead body.
How do you know she's dead?
She drowned.
What?
Her body was stiff even.
That's when Chadwick says Juan and Chi took him at knife point, forcing him to move QC into the family SUV and drive them and the body toward the Mexican border.
Yeah, we've been driving.
Are you in a car?
I have my car right here. They have her body. They said they're going to cut her up.
Who has her body?
Juan and Chi. I think they're going, they might be going to Mexico or somewhere.
If you think that all sounds a bit far-fetched, so did the 911 operator.
Hold on. Let me get my supervisor on the phone.
911 dispatch keeps Chadwick on the phone, giving local police time to respond.
They're here.
Okay, go talk to him.
Cops take Peter in for questioning with detectives who immediately travel down from Newport Beach.
Nothing added up to make any sense. The only thing that makes sense is that he killed his wife.
The big question was why?
But there was more. Investigators discover Peter and QC were having marital issues over infidelities. Peter was hiring local Orange County sex workers.
Peter brought home some sexually transmitted diseases, and so that was creating a tremendous hardship with her.
QC was actually planning to end the marriage over all of it.
We found out she did talk about divorce a few times, but nothing was finalized.
And friend Karen Thorpe noticed Quee was increasingly distancing herself from her husband.
The last year or two, Quee was very much more independent than she had been. She lost some weight, she was learning to do her makeup, she was spending more money on herself, on clothing, and she would go on trips with her girlfriends at times, and I don't know if Peter liked that very well.
By now, detectives have no doubt that she is already dead, and their hunches are right. QC's body is soon found in a dumpster near the area where Peter called 911 from.
He strangled her, he took her to San Diego, close to the border, dumped her body in a dumpster, called the police, told a crazy story.
Peter Chadwick is charged with first-degree murder, but it would be years before Chadwick would face justice. After posting a $1 million bond, Peter fled. Living under an assumed name south of the border, he broke contact with his and QC's 3 school-age sons and spent his time drinking and partying with locals.
He was basically living on the run. We think that he was receiving money from family funds. And while he was in Mexico, and this is just awful, he killed somebody else.
Chadwick was driving back from a concert drunk with sisters Claudia Soto and Ariana Segovia when he crashed, killing Claudia and sending Ariana into a 15-day coma.
It was a car accident scenario, but he killed one and probably permanently disabled the other. It was 2 sisters that he'd gotten to know down there, and he was just driving recklessly.
Knowing he was a wanted fugitive, Chadwick escaped the hospital and went on the run again. He changed his name a second time and was working as a dishwasher for 3 years before being recognized by Mexican police.
He tried to bribe the Mexican police officer who found him, and the man refused to take bribe. So there sort of restores your faith a little bit.
Chadwick was extradited back to the U.S. where he finally faced his charges. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison, thanks to help from Mexican investigators with eyes for a fugitive killer.
I thought that he wouldn't want to take responsibility for what he had clearly done to his wife. Just a lamentable human being, and I hope that I personally have the opportunity to attend his parole hearing.
As part of his plea deal, Chadwick will serve at least 85% of his 15 to life sentence. The DA said that he chose to accept Chadwick's guilty plea to lesser charges because of the wishes of QC's family. QC's family was worried about their sons. Remember, they suffered not only the loss of their mother, but also their father at such a young age. Chadwick will be eligible for parole in 2034. We'll be right back. A True Crime News exclusive. The never-before-seen surveillance footage, a rising rap star gunned down inside a famous restaurant.
The suspect shot the victim several times.
A $500,000 heist in action.
He had 2 watches, several chains, rings on his fingers, which I do believe made him an instant target.
Did a social media post help a killer carry out the murder plot?
Taking my DM neighbors telling me that I'm stupid and posting the location.
On the next True Crime News. For the latest breaking crime news, go to truecrimenews.com. Watch more exclusive content on our YouTube channel, listen to our podcast, and follow us at My True Crime News. That's it for today's True Crime News. I'm Anna Garcia. See you next time, everyone. Crime doesn't stop, neither do we.